Star FM Festival Spezial.
Since September the 7th, you have a new record. This is called La Futura.
Yes.
And you've waited 9 years for a new record. Why have you waited so long?
Well, the actuality is you've got to take 5 years back. So that brings it back to 4 years. Mescalero, which preceded Triple X and Rhythmine, those were in kind of predictable order. And then there was this long period, 4 years. But then my friend Rick Rubin said, "You're free agents, let's make a record." I said, "Fine." And I found out that he was such a genuine fan, music fan, and additionally a ZZ Top fan. He was willing to make sure that nothing was too pushy, didn't want to rush into anything. But then we realized 2 years, so now we take 4 years plus two, now we're talking 6 years. Now it's like Chinese democracy. Is it ever going to show up? But we got to work, and hand in hand with Rick as being available to stand in with us, we got it done.
So why did you choose him, or did he choose you?
I think it was a collection of energies. The first thing he said was, "I don't have to rewire or reinvent ZZ." He said, "ZZ Top stands on its own." He said, "Let's just start some jam sessions." And we said, "Well, that's fine by us, because what you're asking us to do is what we like to do, play music."
Mm-hmm. On the record before, on Mescalero, you were the producer. Now you have another producer, Rick Rubin. So what did you prefer? Just doing your own stuff, or letting a producer doing his job?
Well, that's an interesting question. Rick assigned me, he said, "Well, you've produced everything." He said, you wisely chose to not splash your name on since Trace Hombres." I said, "No," I said, just member of the band. It kept it special." He said, "Well, I know you produced these records." He said, "I want you to produce this La Futura." I said, "Well, I'll do that as long as you join me." And he said, "Okay, fine. We'll start in California at my studio. Then I'm going to send you down to Texas at the ZZ Top studio. And together," he said, "more than likely we'll come up with something that we like." It didn't take, well, after this 2.5 years of waiting, and he was afraid to approach us and we were afraid to approach him, and finally we broke the ice and things started happening. Oh, I can't wait till the next go around. I think it'll be a little faster this time.
So do you know when do you want to do the next project with Rick Rubin? I think in 2 years, or do you have plans, future plans for that?
Working with Rick, I could start tonight. We could start right now.
But that's also something to do with the timetable, so you have to wait that he can, or?
It just depends on what, it is the only thing, the only stones in the pathway would be timetabling. But I know that Rick enjoys it. He knows that we enjoy it. I think it'd be easy to get it rocking and rolling.
I listened to the songs carefully from the new record, and I heard some new influences or modern influences, and always some typical ZZ Top style songs. Was that the plan, to create a kind of connection between the modern times and the old times?
It did happen at the end of the day. You're absolutely correct. The experience was a result of not having a particular design in mind. It was guitar, bass, drums, 3 band members, Rick, the studio engineers, the technicians, Joe Hardy, GLG Main Moon. You know, our little gang of 5, maybe 6, we never knew. It was always, that was always kind of changing. What didn't change was the aim at just keeping it simple. And when I say guitar, bass, and drums, that was it. Yes, we were thinking, oh, okay, at some point, yeah, maybe we'll bring in synthesizer, this, or electronica, that. We didn't need it. We were having a grand time. This was real ZZ Top doing what we've always been doing.
So is it right that I understand that you didn't have quite an aim or intention? It was just jamming together, and in the end there was something which was ZZ Top.
Exactly, yeah. Endless late night jam sessions. Well, we like to play. Make no mistake, Rick enjoys being part of these kind of uncontrolled experiences. It works.
What kind of music have you heard during the writing process? Are there some influences?
Anything and everything, as it would be safe to say right now, there's more music to be accessible, more music, more things to be heard than ever before. Trying to find your favorite is somewhat of a challenge, but along the way, I've kind of taken myself out of this little small box, 1949 to 1959. That still remains the magnet. But we're stumbling into things today that very contemporary and quite enjoyable.
You've worked with a lot of rock stars, yeah, like Jimi Hendrix or Nickelback or the Queens of the Stone Age. Is there any collaboration you enjoyed the most?
Well, we do have one example of a great afternoon together with the Black Keys. And that's only 2 guys, Patrick and Dan, and yours truly, Billy G. We were working out in California, and just during one afternoon, we wrote, recorded, and then continued on into the night. The famous word is those late night jam sessions. And well, there's another guy that enjoys creating a kind of sparse, spare endeavor, Jack White. He's kind of a contemporary, but we all draw from very similar influences. You can't lose when you choose the blues.
What about the Queens of the Stone Age? Is there any side project like this coming with you? Because there's a new record coming from the Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh, yeah.
Can we hear something from you on this? Probably.
Well, yeah, it's still in progress. I just spoke with Josh. He's probably as eclectic as you'd ever want to find in terms of avant-garde, forward-thinking, extreme musician. But he pulls it all back down to earth. He's got the craziest lineup of interesting equipment. Old guitars, old amplifiers, things that don't even have names, but he makes it work. And that's what I love about Josh. He is rambunctious and ready to rock. We're shifting gears. We're officiating the look.
Yeah, that's good.
Comes back.
So it's the next day. What I realized was on the old ZZ Top records, you had Spanish titles.
Yeah.
In between, there was English names. And now the Spanish titles are back. Are there any reasons for this?
Well, yeah. As we were coming to a spot that we thought was close to completion, Rick said, well, we're almost there. What are we going to call it? What shall we call this project? And I said, let's see, what are we going to call this? I said, well, Rick, that's a little early. That's in the future. He goes, oh yeah, the future. How would you say that in Tex-Mex? I said, well, La Futura. He said, I like it. It's fine. I said, well, we haven't gotten there yet. He said, we just did, and we're continuing to go. I said, perfect, we'll go.
So that was the story about the title. Your guitar playing is very famous. Personally, I love when you let the strings cry. I know you probably know the type of sound in Lagrange or in the new record with Flying High. You know what I mean? If you take the pick that way, and you let it cry.
Yep.
When did you start this? Can you remember this?
It was 1973, and it was somewhat by accident. You can hear the first examples on the song Lagrange. This was quite by accident. I don't know how to explain it, but we've managed to save it as part of that expression.
I love doing this by my own. I think this is such a sexy sound.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It stays in key, but you can spin off with fireworks and skyrockets, a lot of different directions.
So you will always use it till the end of time?
I hope so. It's quite fun.
Your voice is much clearer when you're talking than when you're singing. When you're singing, it's like a voice you've been spent 3 hours in a smoking room. How did that come?
I think it was because we learned how to relax every once in a while. You know, you get lucky, and that's what it counts. That's when you get down to really getting gritty and gruff.
So you want to impress women that you're a very, a very good man. I don't know how to say that you're a really man.
I think you're right. Let's continue on.
What are your future plans in the next? Is there a tour coming, or what do you want to do in the next days, in the next years, in the next months?
I did learn that there's a move to return through Europe. And let's make no mistake, Germany was the first place we landed out of the USA. It's still the favorite place that we go. It's between Germany, England, but it's growing. It's now, as you know, this crazy thing called rock and roll has gone around the planet. Maybe we should go to Antarctica. Star